He stood, frozen champagne glass shaking in his hand while those two little voices called him Daddy. And let me tell you, for a guy like Benjamin Caldwell, billionaire and so-called genius, who spent half his life being told he could never have kids, that moment hit like a sucker punch right to the heart. He locked eyes with Emma Harris, the woman who vanished from his world 5 years ago, the only person who ever made him feel real. And then there were those twins beside her, a boy and a girl, both just 4, with eyes he couldn't mistake if he tried. That's the thing about fatigue, it doesn't tap you on the shoulder, it runs you over. I mean, what would you do? The man you love told you he could never give you a family, left to protect your dreams. Or so he claimed, and then life turns around and puts a pair of miracles in your arms. Would you forgive that? Or would you keep the truth close, even if it meant your kids never knew their real father? Yeah, that happened. And here's how it all unraveled. The afternoon sun was brutal, bouncing off the new glass facade of Mercy Hospital's pediatric wing as Ben strode inside, straightening his charcoal suit, acting every bit the composed CEO, philanthropist, world changer. But his hands were cold and his heart was wrecked just that morning. He'd read the latest medical report, another stamp confirming what he'd feared all along. Permanent infertility, no chance of a son with his lopsided grin, no daughter with his mother's laugh. On paper, he was a success. In reality, the applause at the ribbon cutting sounded like static in his ears, and all he wanted was to disappear. And then he saw her. Across the reception hall, right under those fancy chandeliers, Emma's same honey brown hair, that quiet, healing presence, just like a memory you want to hold on to forever. But it was the kids that really took the air out of his lungs. 2 of them, a girl with Emma's dimples and a boy with Ben's own eyes. Time stopped. Emma saw him, too, joy shifting to shock as she squeezed her children's hands. And when the little girl reached out and whispered, "Daddy," Ben couldn't breathe. He muttered some excuse and rushed out, everything blurring around him. He barely made it down the hall before collapsing, the world spinning, the word "Daddy" ringing in his ears like some cruel joke. Next thing he knew, he was waking up under fluorescent hospital lights, nurse at his side. Dr. Patel, the wise old family physician, told him he'd fainted. Emma had brought him in, waited until he was stable, then left. Patel hesitated before saying what Ben's heart already knew: Emma had twins, for years old, born under the name Caldwell. "She gave him my name," Ben whispered, not sure if it was pride or heartbreak he felt. Patel only nodded, telling him sometimes life doesn't follow a diagnosis, and Ben just lay there, unable to process the ache. Let me back up a sec. Before all the heartbreak and lies, there was something good. It started at a community fundraiser in 2018. Ben was the big donor, Emma the humble volunteer, kneeling by sick kids and tying ribbons, making everyone else fade into the background. She greeted him with a smile that made the world softer. Coffee led to pie. Pie led to long walks by the river, stories of old scars and hopes for the future. Emma had grown up in foster care, never really knowing what safety was until she met Ben. He proposed under an autumn Oak Trano crowd, just love. She said yes, tears and all. But life, as always, gets in the way. Ben's family was obsessed with grandchildren, and Emma, she wanted kids too. But Ben kept putting off the truth, wishing love could change biology. When it finally came out, he told her about the infertility, about the impossible odds, and her heart broke quietly in the parking lot. "Love needs truth," she said, and 3 months later, handed back the ring in the same meadow where he'd proposed. Ben fell to his knees, feeling the cold bite of loss. Emma cried alone, haunted by the ghost of what could have been. But fate's got a dark sense of humor. Not long after, Emma fainted during a hospital shift, 2 pink lines pregnant. She told her best friend, Sophie, unsure whether to tell Ben, afraid it'd shatter whatever was left of him. "He thought he couldn't have kids," she whispered. "What if he thinks I'm lying?" Sophie urged her to give him hope, but Emma couldn't risk hurting him more. She kept the pregnancy to herself, named the twins Andrew and Bianca, raised them alone, every milestone marked with bittersweet love, every doctor's visit a letter unsent. Life kept moving. Emma met Alexander Pierce, a gentle pediatric surgeon who brought groceries, read bedtime stories, helped Emma build a new kind of peace. They married quietly, but Ben was never really gone, always lurking in the quiet corners of Emma's heart. Meanwhile, Ben tried to move on, dated a bit, even got engaged until his fiancée told him she'd never raise adopted kids. He started writing letters to the children he'd never meet, tucking them away in a drawer as proof of love he thought would never have a home. Then, for years later, all roads circled back to Mercy Hospital. Emma, Alexander, and the twins showed up for an event. Ben was already there, hiding in plain sight, until he heard Bianca's laugh sound straight out of memory. He saw those eyes in Andrew's face, and the ground dropped out from under him. He fled, heart pounding, and wound up in the ER again with Dr. Patel giving him the truth. Emma had listed Ben as next of kin, never remove his name from the twins' birth certificates. All this time, Ben said, "I thought she left me because she stopped loving me." Patel shook his head. Sometimes people leave to protect the ones they love most. Ben didn't rest. He wandered the city, haunted by memories, ended up at Emma's old building. That night, he wrote another letter. "Andrew, Bianca, I saw you today and broke in a way I didn't know was still possible. I promise, I will find my way to you." Emma sat awake beside the twins, Alexander quietly supportive. He saw them. Emma told him. He collapsed at the hospital. Alexander didn't protest. "I'll step aside if you need me to," he said. Emma just shook her head, caught in the middle of past and present. The next morning, Ben waited in the hospital garden until Emma appeared. "I just want the truth," he said. Emma's voice trembled. "I didn't want to break you," Ben replied. "You were never a burden, Emma. You were my lifeline, and those kids theory the air I didn't know I needed." Emma's defenses softened. "Do you still want to be in their lives?" Ben didn't hesitate, never stopped. A few days later, Ben visited the house. No suit this time, just a dad desperate for a chance. Andrew and Bianca sat under a maple tree. "You're the man from Mommy's stories," Bianca said. Ben pulled out 2 plush toys, the very same Emma had put in their crib years before. "I missed so much," he whispered, his voice cracking as the kids hugged him. That afternoon was magic peanut butter sandwiches, building block towers, and Ben telling stories not about boardrooms, but about the day he saw their mother smile. He kept showing up rain or shine, tantrums and all. The walls Emma built started to crumble, especially when Bianca got sick and Ben arrived with the exact popsicle she loved. "You remembered," Emma said, soft and surprised. "I listen now," Ben replied. The trust rebuilt slowly. They argued. Emma asked why he didn't fight harder for her. Ben admitted he thought leaving was noble, but now knew it was just fear. One morning, Emma found a stack of Ben's letters, written to the twins' pages and pages of hope and regret and longing. At the bottom, 6 words, "Thank you for not erasing me." Emma wept. Ben became a fixture in their lives, his presence steady. He still struggled with his heart issues, doctor visits, that constant threat in the background. But he was there every night, telling bedtime stories, packing school lunches, leaving notes in the twin snack boxes. Emma finally asked him straight out, "How's your heart?" Ben admitted he'd been hiding problems, but he was ready to fight for his future, for their future. He went through a procedure, Emma by his side, Alexander helping in the background, the kids drawing glitter hearts on get-well cards. Ben recovered. He moved out of his penthouse, donated it to a children's charity, and made a home with Emma and the twins. He set up his office in the guest room, but mostly he wrote stories for Andrew and Bianca, stories of hope and second chances. Family dinners were chaotic spaghetti everywhere, laughter louder than any applause Ben ever got at a gala. He told Emma, "I finally have something worth keeping." They took their first real vacation, just the 4 of them, running wild on the beach, collecting shells, and chasing crabs. One night, watching the twins chase fireflies, Emma leaned against Ben and whispered, "I was terrified, raising them alone." Ben replied, "I was terrified, too, not of kids, but that I didn't deserve them." Emma smiled. "You always did." Ben said, "We raised them into beautiful humans." Emma corrected, "We raised each other." Time passed. The twins started kindergarten, Ben crying quietly behind sunglasses. On their anniversary, Ben gave Emma a box of letters thank you for not giving up. Everyone ended. They married again, simple and honest, in the backyard with the twins holding the rings. Their vows were messy. Their joy was real. Their home full of life's beautiful noise finger paints, mismatched socks, late-night talks, and the music of kids who finally had both their parents under one roof. You know what I mean? Love isn't about how you start, it's about choosing each other again and again, even when it hurts, even when it scares you. Would you give your heart a second chance after it was shattered? Would you forgive, or would you walk away? Drop your thoughts below. Like, share, and let's talk about what justice, forgiveness, and family mean to you, because real love stories never end. They just keep evolving.